Hello, I'm Richard Ridge for Broadway World. Joely Richardson has returned to the New York stage in William Luce's beloved play, The Belle of Amherst. Playing celebrated poet Emily Dickinson. Under the direction of Steve Cosson, it is once again produced by Don Gregory. And we're here on opening night at the West Side Theater to celebrate with the company. Congratulations, it's opening night
Thank
in
you.
New York. How do you feel tonight?
I'm ecstatic. I could not be happier. I mean, I think the show turned out better than my wildest dreams, so I'm very, very happy.
Take me back to the beginning of how you came to direct the show.
I was invited into this by Don Gregory, and Don is the original producer from the Broadway production that Joely Harris did back in the 70s. And he thought it was time to revive the show. He reached out to me, which was great luck, I think, on my part. And then the two of us talked about casting and went to Joely Richardson first. And we're again extraordinarily lucky that she read the play and she loved it and she agreed to do it.
I was going to ask you, what is the rehearsal process like? Because it's just the two of you in the room, so you're the only audience, or maybe Don. So what are those challenges? Is it when it comes out of the rehearsal room and you add an audience into the mix?
Well, I think we just, we took it every step of the way. The room is very small. It was me, the stage manager, my assistant director, our production assistant, Joely working 8 hours a day. But you start to really meld minds, and even though she's the one doing the work, I think we were all such a great team. Everybody who was in that room, that it still felt very full, and more like a regular rehearsal process than I would have imagined. I will tell you one funny thing: is we had a day when Joely thought, I'd like to get used to starting to talk to people because I'm going to have this audience rising up in front of me. She's like, couldn't we figure out a way to maybe put some masks up there? And we was like, no, we're just going to grab some paper. And we had a little art project, and our team sat down and we all drew faces, and we created these 14 different characters. One of them who was very angry, one of them who was sleeping, so she could get used to that as well. And then we pinned them on the curtain behind her, and then she had her people to talk to. And our stage manager is a great guy, and I think just for fun, when we started tech, he saved all of our little audience friends and pinned them to the seats of the audience for tech, so they came with us. So they were like our training audience.
So welcome back to New York with the Belle of Amherst. It's opening night. How do you feel?
Wonderful. On top of the world. It was just a marvelous performance. She's amazing. She got underneath every line, every nuance, every thought. It was perfect.
Can you give me your history of writing the play and how this all came about, sir?
Well, it's a long story, really, and Dawn and Mike were very much involved with me, and the only thing I remember was, I think it was you and Dawn both said it's very poetic, very lovely, and it has no humor.
And it was 15 characters.
Really?
Oh, that's right, the first attempt, yeah. The first
He gave me
attempt.
15 characters,
Yeah.
and he was a singer. And I said, make it one. And he got it right off the bat, the first draft. He just transformed it from 15 to 1. That worked so well.
Everybody fell in love with this play the first time around, of course, with the lovely Joely Harris. Why do you think this play touches people so?
Well, the poetry touches the people. I mean, that's the way it really, I think, happens. And I had it when I was in high school. And I had a wonderful teacher. And so when I got into college, it was a natural for me. It was a shoo-in, you know.
Opening night, how do you feel tonight?
A little bit relieved. I felt a bit of pressure tonight, and it's been going so well, and the previews have been so enjoyable, and the audiences have been laughing and crying, and that's been amazing. And then tonight's audience was a little bit tougher, and I just had to just sort of, they were a lot more quiet, which is ironic because so many loved ones were in the audience. So I just said, come on. And, tonight's the first night that I got to meet Luce, who's a bit my hero, obviously being the playwright. He calls himself the playwright, and so that to me has really made my evening, meeting him. And what a beautiful play, what a beautiful role.
Take me back to the beginning. You and I spoke very early on when they first came to you and you read it the first time. What were your thoughts?
When I read it the first time, like, yes, yes, yes. But, Steve, our director, wrote me a card tonight for first night saying, thank you so much for doing this. You were either, I can't remember the first bit, but he said, or crazy enough to do it. And I thought, yes, he's so right, crazy, because it's a tough role. Technically, because obviously the most important thing in any role is to bring the heart. But then with Emily's poems being so brilliant, it also requires quite a huge amount of technique so that everyone can hear them and to make them accessible to people.
It's just you up there. So I asked Steve about the rehearsal process. He talked about your imaginary audience you put together. Tell me about that, what you all did.
Well, at one point I said, look, I really need to get used to an audience. Can we have some faces up here? So we just took 10 minutes out of rehearsal, and we were like a bunch of little kids, and all of us were drawing strange people, like grumpy people, happy people, and we stuck them up behind so that when I was telling the story, I had someone to tell it to. It was one of the lighter, funner moments of rehearsal.
I'm sure it made life.
Because when it is just you, it's a bit heavy going. But the thing was, the people that I speak to in the play, without wanting to sound insane, obviously I worked on them so much that to me, in a way, they are real. So sometimes I don't feel alone on the stage.
And what it was like adding the audience into the mix. I mean, audiences are loving this all over again. What that means to you and what it's like having them there, like the first time you went on with an audience.
The first time, the first preview, it was just blind fear. It was really just, I didn't think I could get through it because it was so unknown to me. I didn't know if I could hold it together. I just didn't know what it would feel like to be out there by myself. But then as the evenings have progressed and people are laughing and people are crying, and sometimes I can visibly hear people crying. Well, one man at the curtain call last night, he said, thank you. And that makes it all worthwhile when I feel that I'm telling the story well, because it is such a beautiful story, and it is about all of us as human beings and how short life is, and love each other. But it's not a hippie. I made it sound really like 60s hippie, and it's not like that at all.
She's so beloved. What have you learned about her the most that you've taken to heart now that you didn't know about her before, you've learned to love?
Well, I love her mischief. I've always loved her mischief. And actually, I got that from the first time that I read the script. And what I love about these geniuses is that they're so full of contradictions. They have this incredible brilliance, but there is a price to pay. And, her life, she had great joys, great bliss, and also terrible despair and terrible sadness. And so that also makes her an icon.
Did it all come together for you when you had the wig and the outfit and everything else, those final touches?
They all help a lot. Yeah. I love my dress. I love my wig. Yeah, Emily suddenly appears. Mm.
Yeah. Do you remember opening night tonight when you took your bow? What you were thinking? Do you remember?
To be honest, it was kind of an amazing moment. I hadn't expected everyone to be standing like that and seeming really happy because they've been quite a quiet audience. So I think it was almost like a flash, but a truly beautiful one that I'll always remember because it's been a lot of work.
You work
the most satisfying work, without a doubt, the hardest work I've ever done by miles. I'll never have a role like this again.
You know, you work in television and film, but you always come back to the stage. What gives you the biggest satisfaction about working in the live theater?
That I am communicating with the audience, that using Emily's words about bringing words to life. A word is dead when it is said. Some say, I say it just begins to live that day, and making it live for the audiences.